U.S. Representative Mark Green, a Republican from Tennessee, announced his resignation on Monday to take up an offer in the private sector amid a vote on President Donald Trump's sweeping tax and spending bill. The move reduces Republicans' majority in the House to 219 to 212, increasing pressure on Speaker Mike Johnson. Brian Van Lanen has set a new record for the largest hunter-killed grizzly bear in North America, scoring 27 and 9/16 inches, according to the Boone and Crockett Club. The giant boar was taken by Van Lanen on a guided hunt near Norton Sound, Alaska, last fall, and measured over 20 years old. Jessica Wongso, convicted of premeditated murder for lacing her friend's iced coffee with cyanide, spoke out in a recent interview about her crime and maintains her innocence. Wongso was released from prison after serving 8 years for the 2016 death of her 27-year-old friend Myrna Salihan. She claims to have forgiven everyone who wronged her, but denies being close friends with Salihan, blaming another person for the crime. As part of her parole, Wongso must stay in Jakarta until 2032. Pam Hoin, a flight attendant with 9 years of experience, shares her insider tips on how she stays healthy while traveling. From boosting your immune system with vitamin C and staying hydrated, to disinfecting surfaces and choosing the right seat, Hoin's expert advice can help travelers avoid getting sick during their next journey. A 91-year-old woman and her 92-year-old passenger were killed in a 3-vehicle crash on June 9th in the village of Waukesha, Wisconsin. The accident occurred when the woman turned left in front of an approaching semi-truck on Highway 164, striking another vehicle before coming to rest. Starting July 1st, AMC theaters will delay movie start times due to an additional commercial added before a film. The move is part of a new deal with National Cinemedia Inc., aiming to boost ad revenue for both companies. Critics say the extra commercials may deter some viewers, but AMC claims it won't negatively impact attendance. A contractor's excavation at a war-damaged house in northern Syria uncovered an underground Byzantine tomb complex believed to be over 1,500 years old. The discovery was made last month in the town of Marat al-Numan, where residents are beginning to rebuild after years of conflict. 13 unexplained deaths have been reported across Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island since the start of the year, sparking fears that a serial killer may be responsible. Authorities have no suspects, cause, or evidence linking the deaths, but are investigating possible connections. 5 people were injured after a driver led Massachusetts State Police on a high-speed chase down Route 24, losing control and crashing in Taunton. The investigation is ongoing, with charges to be announced later. Motel 6's new owner, OYO, is accused of using Tom Bodette's name and voice without permission in a lawsuit filed by the longtime chain spokesman. Bodette claims the company broke their contract and federal trademark law after missing a $1.2 million payment. He seeks $1.2 million plus additional damages and a share of profits. Russian billionaire Arkady Volozh, who has criticized Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, is investing £200 million in a UK-based AI company called Nebius. The investment will establish an AI factory in the southeast, deploying 4,000 graphics processing chips designed for machine learning technology. This move comes as the UK government announces plans to boost its computing power and technological skills with significant investments in AI research and development. Researchers at Chega Sofla in western Iran discovered a 6,200-year-old woman with an elongated skull that was bashed in, raising questions about the severity of cranial bandaging. The study used CT scans to analyze the skull's thickness and determine if the injury could be attributed to the practice of cranial bandaging. Huawei Technologies CEO Ren Zhengfei says the company is finding ways to improve chip performance through methods such as cluster computing. despite being one generation behind U.S. peers. The firm invests $25 billion annually in research and sees promise in compound chips, according to state media. Aging is not just about staying active. It's about choosing the right activity, like resistance training, to support health and prevent age-related conditions. Weightlifting can build muscle, regulate blood sugar, improve balance, and even stave off neurological conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia. New York City has been named the wealthiest city in the world, boasting 384,500 millionaires and 66 billionaires. The city's wealth concentration is attributed to its robust legal frameworks, sophisticated financial infrastructure, and investment migration programs that attract global talent and capital. China's leading EV makers BYD, Geely, and Great Wall Motor are embroiled in a dispute over emissions compliance, with Geely backing Great Wall's claims that BYD's non-pressurized fuel tanks do not meet Chinese regulations. The row escalates as China's EV market faces intense competition and price wars intensify. El Paso has taken the top spot in U.S. News and World Report's list of best big cities to live in, beating out other Texas metros like Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. The city earned high scores for its lower cost of living, warm weather, average commute time, income, and rent, with an overall score of 6.2/10. At the WWDC event, Apple introduced iOS 26, featuring a new design language called Liquid Glass, which incorporates translucent UI elements inspired by Vision OS. The update includes a redesigned phone, app, and camera controls, as well as a customizable Messages app. While initially praised, some users are drawing comparisons with Windows Vista due to the transparent icons. President Trump broke ground on construction projects aimed at paving over the grass in the Rose Garden and installing flagpoles on the White House lawns, part of a series of personal touches he's added to the executive mansion. The projects include new artwork and gold-toned flourishes in the Oval Office, with completion set for mid-August. A team of researchers used NASA's SWAT satellite to confirm a mysterious seismic pulse generated by the Earth every 90 seconds in Greenland's Dixon Fjord. The signal was attributed to a slowly decaying seiche caused by a landslide triggered by a megatsunami, which distorted water waves and oscillated for hours after wind ceased. A financial expert analyzed a retiree's plan to spend $7,000 per month in retirement and found that their $1.4 million savings may not be enough to cover expenses. The expert suggests considering delaying Social Security claims, optimizing withdrawal sequences for taxes, and planning for long-term care. Despite the challenges, the plan is workable with some adjustments. A runaway pet zebra named Ed was captured safely in a pasture near Christiana 10 after an internet sensation and week-long pursuit by authorities. Ed had evaded capture for over a week, with multiple sightings posted to social media. He was eventually airlifted by helicopter back to his owner. A new device called the Blue Chirper, invented by Stephen McMahon, is being used in West Hollywood to deter homeless individuals from settling near businesses. The device emits a chirping sound and flashes blue light when it detects motion, but its effectiveness is disputed, with some residents finding it disruptive and others suggesting that addressing the root of the issue is more impactful. Amid a national surge in homelessness, experts highlight the need for comprehensive solutions to address the growing number of people experiencing homelessness. Anthony Scaramucci believes Russia's President Vladimir Putin holds leverage over Donald Trump due to unspecified ties to Jeffrey Epstein, despite denials from the president and lack of public evidence. Scaramucci thinks Putin could have gathered compromising material on Trump in the 80s, which might explain his deference to the authoritarian leader. The Georgia Republican Party has voted to declare its Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger ineligible to run as a Republican in future elections due to his role in investigating the 2020 presidential election. The move comes after Raffensperger refused to help Donald Trump overturn his loss in Georgia, leading to deep hostility from some Republican activists. However, the party's chairman says state law prevents them from taking action against Raffensperger, who is considering running for governor or Senate in 2026. Animal rescuer Tia and her partner saved 4 puppies from a burning trash pile in the UK, but one pup proved harder to reach. The rescue was captured on video, showing Tia pulling out 3 puppies first, before returning for the 4th, who was reluctant to come out due to being larger and in worse condition. Despite initial fear, all 4 puppies were taken to a vet for immediate care and will receive further updates on their progress. Researchers have found that 2 corroded objects from the treasure of Villena, a 66-piece gold cache in Spain, were forged from meteoritic iron, dating back to around 1400 to 1200 BCE. The discovery suggests that metalworking technology and techniques in Iberia at the time were more advanced than previously thought. The National Transportation Safety Board has concluded that dirt racing legend Scott Bloomquist likely intentionally flew his plane into a building on August 16, 2024, in what is believed to be an act of suicide. The investigation found the probable cause was the pilot's intentional flight into a building. Bloomquist, 60, had recently suffered injuries from a motorcycle accident and prostate cancer diagnosis. The U.S. and China may be nearing a short-term agreement, but its stability is uncertain due to various factors. Chinese wage hikes could increase production costs for U.S. companies operating in the region. A deal may be fleeting, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's deadline potentially expiring soon. A 30-year-old study has rekindled debate about a potential connection between herpes simplex virus 1, HSV1, and Alzheimer's disease. Researchers found dormant HSV1 in the nerves of elderly people with Alzheimer's, suggesting that the virus may contribute to its development. Experts say more research is needed to confirm the link, but lifestyle choices like vaccination, exercise, and a heart-healthy diet can help lower dementia risk. The Chinese government is urging a crackdown on the practice of selling new cars as heavily discounted second-hand vehicles to clear inventory, citing negative effects on manufacturers and consumers alike. The People's Daily has called for regulatory action to restore market order, including strengthening oversight of second-hand vehicle registration and controlling immediate resale after registration. Elon Musk appears to have extended an olive branch to President Donald Trump amid the Los Angeles riots, sharing a post that endorsed Trump's handling of the situation and criticizing Governor Gavin Newsom's response. This marks a shift in their public feud, which began over differences on Trump's massive tax and spending package. The White House has not commented on whether the two had smoothed things over. Cashel Pratcher shares her exceptional experience flying first class on United Airlines, citing its exceptional in-flight service, spacious seats, and surprisingly good meals. While she's flown first class on American and Delta as well, her United flight stood out for its thoughtful touches and elevated atmosphere. Despite a minor inconvenience with free Wi-Fi, the overall experience won her over and left her eager to fly again with United. IBM has announced its plans to build the world's first large-scale quantum computer, Starling, which will operate without errors and perform 20,000 more operations than current computers. The quantum computer will be fault-tolerant, enabling applications in fields like drug discovery, supply chain optimization, and financial risk analysis. Expected to launch by 2029, Starling will utilize IBM's new QLDPC error correction code, allowing for faster and more robust scaling. This development is a significant step forward in the industry, with analysts predicting a growth in quantum computing to $8.6 billion by 2028. A team of physicists has proposed a new theory suggesting that the universe formed from a huge gravitational collapse into a massive black hole, creating our universe as a rebound effect. This black hole universe model aligns with both general relativity and quantum physics, offering a new perspective on our place in the cosmos. Rex Heuermann's wife, Asa Ellerup, claims her husband is innocent of the Gilgo Beach serial killer case, saying the wrong man was accused of the crimes. The 61-year-old described Rex as her hero, citing moments they spent together before his arrest and claiming she has no knowledge of any illicit activities. Despite the mounting evidence against him, Asa remains hopeful for her husband's release. In a significant escalation, Israel launched its first seaborne assault against the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen's rebel-held port city of Hodeidah on Tuesday. The attack targeted facilities, key to aid shipments, and allegedly used for weapons smuggling. The move marks a departure from Israel's previous reliance on airstrikes and could further strain relations with the U.S., which has been working to interdict illicit shipments. The Houthis have launched persistent missile and drone attacks against commercial and military ships in the region, sinking 2 vessels and killing 4 sailors since November 2023. A UN mission operates in Hodeidah, but inspections appear to be no longer catching all vessels heading into the port. Research suggests that microplastics and nanoplastics can absorb heavy metals, including cadmium, cobalt, lead, manganese, and zinc, potentially carrying these elements inside humans. Experts warn of cancer risks, neurological concerns, and harm to children due to exposure. However, the study's findings also highlight the importance of reducing plastic waste and choosing products with eco-friendly packaging. To mitigate the issue, scientists are working on recycling microplastics into useful materials like graphene, while nature offers potential solutions through certain mushrooms that can consume plastics. A man led security on a chase across the tarmac at London's Heathrow Airport, prompting his detention. The incident was captured on camera, showing several people in pursuit of the individual. In the Florida Everglades, professional python hunter Amy Siwi has caught over 600 invasive Burmese pythons, making her one of a handful of women among hundreds of men hunting the species. Pythons have caused significant declines in native wildlife, including mammals and birds. The second Choi Hyun-class frigate of North Korea rolled over during a launch ceremony attended by Kim Jong-un and is now under repair in a dry dock facility. Satellite images show extensive damage to the ship's superstructure, but experts estimate that it can be restored within 10 days, despite being far from completing the repairs. Archaeologists at Colonial Williamsburg Foundation discovered 4 Confederate soldiers' remains, believed to be from a makeshift hospital during the Battle of Williamsburg in 1862. The remains were found with details such as mini bullets and amputated legs, which helped identify the soldiers using handwritten lists and DNA analysis. The discovery provides insight into the lives of Civil War casualties and aims to ensure an ironclad identification. An explosion and fire broke out on board a Singapore-flagged container ship off the coast of Kerala, India, leaving 18 crew members rescued and 4 missing. A search operation is underway to locate the missing sailors, aided by Indian Navy and Coast Guard forces. A fast-moving grass fire broke out in Pismo Beach on June 9, 2025, prompting evacuation orders for parts of the area. The fire, which was reported near Highway 101, grew to an estimated 7 acres in minutes and had the potential to spread to hundreds of acres before being brought under control at around 6 p.m. Scientists have long debated Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, which initially described an unchanging universe. However, observations suggest the universe is expanding, contradicting the static model. By re-examining Einstein's mathematical tools, scientists created new models that show the universe as dynamic and evolving, with everything moving away from each other in all directions. Despite cooling labor market signs and slowing economic activity, Wall Street strategists are maintaining their year-end targets for the S&P 500 between 6,300 and 6,500. They attribute this optimism to a moderation in growth slowdown expectations and easing tariff uncertainty, which they believe has passed. The U.S. FDA has upgraded a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar recall from voluntary to Class 2 due to its high sugar content, warning customers with diabetes or those who need to avoid sugar may experience hyperglycemia if they consume the affected cans. The recalled product was only distributed in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. Based on Glassdoor data, Tesla's employee salaries range from $49,000 to $125,000 annually for various roles such as sales advisor, software engineer, and service technician. These figures are comparable to general U.S. salary averages, with most positions in line with or near Tesla's offered ranges. The analysis suggests that Tesla is paying its employees competitively across different career paths. Florida death row inmate Anthony Wainwright is scheduled to be executed on Tuesday by lethal injection for the rape and murder of 23-year-old Carmen Gayhart in 1994. The U.S. Supreme Court denied his last-minute appeals, including claims that he was improperly barred from hiring a lawyer of his choice under state law. Wainwright's lawyers have filed multiple unsuccessful appeals over the years, based on what they said were problems with his trial and evidence that he suffered from brain damage and intellectual disability. Gayhart's sister plans to attend the execution, saying she wants justice for her family after 28 years. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow claims President Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles is a sign that he has no effective response to protests over his administration's immigration raids. She warns that Trump's actions are reminiscent of other strongmen and would-be dictators, and that the country must decide what it allows him to get away with. CBS News polling reveals a top tier of Democratic candidates emerging among California voters who are increasingly skeptical of incumbent President Joe Biden's performance. With Mark Esper's confirmation as Secretary of Defense, nearly 40% of the Trump administration remains vacant, including key positions such as Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Director of National Intelligence. CBS News examines how well-known 4 Democratic congresswomen, known as the Squad, are to the American public, with a look at their individual profiles and impact on the 2024 election. A new survey by CBS News found 4 Democratic candidates, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Pete Buttigieg, consistently ranking near the top of the crowded field ahead of the 2020 presidential election. The latest Battleground Tracker poll indicates a shift in support among key demographics, with growing momentum for several frontrunners. Senator Mark Warner is calling on Congress to bolster election security ahead of the 2020 presidential election, citing concerns about foreign interference and voter registration issues. A new CBS News survey reveals that healthcare costs are the primary concern for Democratic voters, ahead of issues like the economy and foreign policy. The findings come as President Biden seeks to revamp the nation's healthcare system, with a focus on reducing costs and expanding access. A new CBS News poll shows the early Democratic contests are intensifying in Iowa, with Joe Biden taking a narrow lead over Bernie Sanders ahead of the first caucus. Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chairman Mark Warner, and 2020 Democratic presidential candidates Julian Castro and Marianne Williamson appear on CBS News's Face the Nation. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin reports on U.S. military buildup against Iran. Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson joins CBS News to discuss her policy ideas, including a proposed Department of Children focused on supporting vulnerable youth. President Trump's tweets targeting Baltimore Representative Elijah Cummings and his district have sparked concern about the candidate's behavior on the campaign trail. The president's attacks, which include claims of poor law enforcement and crime, are aimed at a historically Democratic district. CBS News analysts weigh in on what Trump's tweets mean for his campaign. Dem candidate Julian Castro joined CBS News to discuss President Trump's tweets targeting Representative Elijah Cummings and the U.S.-Guatemala asylum agreement, calling them part of his re-election playbook. The U.S. is grappling with growing concerns over gun violence after a recent mass shooting, with lawmakers pushing for stricter control measures. The latest developments come as the nation mourns the loss of life and seeks answers to prevent such tragedies in the future. Senator Tim Scott, Republican senator, expresses concern that mass shootings in Ohio and Texas are being used to further partisan agendas, calling for a unified response to address the issue. Former Representative Beto O'Rourke links Republican President Donald Trump's rhetoric to the mass shooting at an El Paso Walmart that killed 20 and injured dozens, saying it contributed to a toxic environment of hate. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says he will introduce legislation aimed at restricting gun sales to people under 21, following a mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio, and calls on lawmakers to break ties with the National Rifle Association (NRA) lobby as Congress considers new gun control measures. Over the past 13 hours, 2 mass shootings have left at least 29 people dead, with El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, being the sites of the devastating attacks. The victims' identities are still unknown, but authorities have confirmed multiple fatalities and injuries. CBS News correspondents report live from both scenes, providing updates on the ongoing investigations. CBS News correspondent David Martin reports from Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, where he got rare access to U.S. troops serving in the Middle East amidst escalating tensions with Iran. Major Garrett interviews Beto O'Rourke and Senator Sherrod Brown about mass shootings in Dayton, Ohio, and El Paso, Texas, as Representative Will Hurd explains his decision not to seek re-election. Texas Congressman Will Hurd, the only African-American Republican in the House of Representatives, describes the El Paso massacre as a form of white nationalism terrorism. In his farewell speech, he announces his decision not to seek re-election. Following mass shootings in Texas and Ohio, lawmakers are under pressure to take action on gun laws. CBS News experts discuss the potential consequences of inflammatory rhetoric and what action Congress may take next. Former NYC Mayor Michael Bloomberg is expanding his push for background check legislation after recent mass shootings, citing gun violence as a major issue in the U.S. House Rep. Steve Scalise expressed concerns about blaming President Trump's rhetoric for the El Paso massacre, warning that it could lead to a dangerous escalation of blame and undermine efforts to address gun violence. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg discusses gun violence prevention efforts and his presidential campaign at a forum in Des Moines, Iowa. Democrats' gun control promises, can they be realistic? Senator Bernie Sanders joined Margaret Brennan to discuss the El Paso shooting and President Trump's rhetoric on gun control, saying he doesn't want people mowed down. In a special Face the Nation episode, Representative Steve Scalise, former NYC Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and 2020 presidential candidates Senators Bernie Sanders, Michael Bennet, and Kirsten Gillibrand shared their perspectives on pressing issues, including healthcare reform, climate change, and economic growth. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg tells CBS that he is holding off on endorsing any of the current 2020 candidates in an upcoming interview. The Trump administration has mobilized additional National Guard troops in response to ongoing protests in Los Angeles. As a CBS News contributor, recounts his personal experience climbing Mount Everest. After initially backing former President Trump, Elon Musk has taken a sharp turn in their public relationship, by making personal attacks, marking a significant change. Meanwhile, the Tribeca Festival highlights its billion-dollar impact and top films to watch this year. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth testified before a House subcommittee about the costs of maintaining troops in Los Angeles amid protests over ICE raids, with estimates suggesting nearly $134 million will be spent.